did a video a short while ago about Cenk from TYT doing what appears to be a sort of a U-turn, although I'd describe it as more of a change in his viewpoint, but quite an extreme type of change. Now, this is all wholesome and understandable in the current climate, since the loss and the W on the Republican side and the fairly large L on the Liberal side following the election results. So that aside, for some time, there's been a trend leading up to the election, probably culminating in Trump's win, where some big popular figures on the internet and in the political news media arena have pretty much not changed direction as such, but you could say have had a come to Jesus moment and have seemed to have reevaluated what it is they believe. And these are some people who, in some cases, have been going hard for a long time, as in, you know, with the Trump derangement syndrome and the anti-Trump sentiment. And now I think some of them seem to be, how could you say, floating down to the earth, or the place where a lot of more centered and balanced-minded people see this political, I'm not sure what a good word would be, just say the reality of the current political state of affairs in US politics and also global is very much replicated with some of what we have going on here in the UK and other parts of Europe. So, but it's more highlighted when you look at the US recent elections and Trump's unbelievable historical win over Kamala. Excuse me. Now, Cenk is one of the major figures who seems to have had this realization. Now, I kind of pointed it out in this earlier video and recently came across a video he did with a very well-known podcast, which you'll get to see in the following clip. So with no further ado, we'll take a look at Cenk's turnaround.
Cenk, are you now a Republican? Okay, so a lot of people on the left have that theory. The definitive answer is no. So, look, I've been a populist all along, and what's fascinating to me is how much politics in America has changed. Because the left-wing populists, like the Bernie Sanders type of guys, have been standing a post waiting for our right flank to appear at some point. Because giant things like getting money out of politics, you cannot do alone. The left wing can't do it alone. The right wing can't do it alone. The only way to fix it is an amendment, because you got to go above the Supreme Court. You need 3/4 of the states. So for me, I've always thought, if we don't get united, we're never going to beat the establishment. And the establishment has been my enemy forever and ever and ever. And I wish we had beaten them, through Bernie in 2016 or 2020. And I'm not saying that they're knocked out. I mean, the establishment is gigantic. They've got billions and trillions of dollars, and they're going to make a huge comeback in the 2028 primaries. But on the Republican side, they've largely been defeated. And so here's what my left-wing friends don't understand. They think you guys are all MAGA, and MAGA means it's a cult, and you're never going to disagree with Trump. You're never going to disagree with each other. And that you are like their father's Republicans, but you're not their father's Republicans. And so our side, I've been trying to get them to realize that Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, all these folks that take the money, they're not on your side. They're on the establishment side, right? And for you guys on the right, when I used to debate you, and I don't mean you guys in specific, I mean in general, all I would get is wall-to-wall talking points. Oh, Mitch McConnell knows what he's doing. Oh, John Cornyn is the best. Oh, George Bush, Dick Cheney, etc. And we've been around forever. We're the longest-running show in internet history, right? We're the first YouTube partner channel ever. That makes me like the original YouTuber, right? Oh, wow. And so I battled the Cheneys. I battled all those guys in the Bush years, right? And then I hit Obama from the left, and people got super mad. I mean, that's part of the reason why I had the huge blowout with MSNBC, and I left MSNBC because they didn't want me to hit Obama, and they didn't want me to hit the Democrats. So I've been doing that from day one. And guys, today, I think that, we could do something historic. I think that we could actually unite the left flank and the right flank. And I've got a model for how to do that, and I want to run it by you guys. I've got a couple of rules for the internet that I want to run by you guys. Rules sound bad, right? But hold on, I think you're going to like these rules. And then I want to see, hey, is there a couple of things that we can unite on right now on this show, make the show a little bit historic, and say, hey, this is what the internet thinks. This is what the populace of the right and the left think. Let's go tackle the establishment and make it happen.
Okay, so before we do that, can I ask you a couple questions?
Of course.
So for you, election night, we had you on, you came, you spoke, you're a fiery guy, you're a true believer. You're a guy that we've all seen you. You're not a guy that you actually are not acting. Like you actually believe what you believe in and you actually get upset. You really are upset, right? So I know it's going to sound weird. I think there is an element of Alex in you. There's an element of you in Alex. I know you don't want to hear that part. I'm telling you as a person that's a viewer, you guys have been on both for a long time and you guys have both been hated by opposing sides. And I think you guys have a lot of similarities from the messaging that you believe in. Now, you may not agree with each other, but that's the messaging. What do you think with all these ideas? Like, sometimes for me, I'm running a business and I have some ideas. I create a comp and the comp is not growing the company. But I say it's the right comp. A year later, nothing's happening. But it's the right comp. 2 years later, 3 years later, 5 years later, nothing's happening. Then you have to sit there and say, by yourself, and this is not easy to do. I've shut down my channel twice for 3 months because I sat down with Mario and I said, look, the last 100 videos, we haven't had any views that get 100,000 views. Why is that? We only had 2 of them. And we had 40 videos over 1 million views. Why have our last 100 not performed? We kind of talked about that a little bit when I was on your show as well. And then we shut down. We're like, okay, let's regroup. Watch those videos they used to do. Watch this year. What's happened with the climate? What's changed? Is the market pivoting? You're not. Are you, with your values and principles that you had, the results? For you, what did you notice where you said, maybe I was wrong with these principles that I thought were the right way to think about? I know I was right about this. This is the one thing that whether I'm right or wrong, I'm not compromising. It's my conviction. But I know I was wrong about these 2 things. Is there anything that you personally went through?
Yeah, there's a tiny on policy, but more on how to react to the right wing, which is a really, I think, interesting conversation. So look, I get why the left is skeptical, because what happens is usually there's a pattern, and unfortunately some former TYT hosts have done this, where they beseech the right wing. They start agreeing a little bit and then a lot. And then next thing you know, they're pulling a Reuben or eating a Reuben sandwich. And I don't eat that, right? And I don't do that. But what has happened, to the core of your question? So there's tiny things around policy. Like, I believe in no cash bail, right? So if 2 guys commit a sexual assault, one is poor and one is rich, the rich guy pays bail, gets out, the poor guy can't. And by the way, they're accused. It's alleged, right? You don't know. But the poor guy stays in jail for mainly being poor. So it makes sense to be for no cash bail. But what wound up happening is California, for example, reduced some felonies to misdemeanors, which they didn't really tell us. It was in a prop measure. I voted for the prop measure, but they never actually said in the ballot measure, we're going to reduce penalties for these crimes, which are some significant crimes. And when you combine the 2 things, repeat offenders kept getting out of jail and doing another crime and another crime and another crime. And I realized, okay, wait a minute, we got an issue here. So on no cash, first of all, on the issue of taking the felonies to misdemeanors, once we found out what was going on, I'm like, look, I've been to every progressive convention there's been and every progressive conference, talked to every leader, etc. I never heard anyone say, let's take felonies and turn them into misdemeanors. I don't know where the hell that came from, right? So I said, okay, now that I see that, okay, if you commit 3 offenses, then you're a repeat offender and you have to put up a cash bail, okay? So if you're a guy, oh my God, gee, something you got accused and you didn't do it, okay, no cash bail, right? But if you do it 3 times, you got to put up bail, no question. And now we voted in California for Prop 36, and I made the position against what you guys would call extreme left or radical left. I'm trying to call them max left now to be respectful, right? But those guys said crime is imaginary, and I said, no, crime is not imaginary. Crime is definitely real, and crime is going up. And guys, if we don't do something about putting these folks in jail if they're repeat offenders, we're going to lose everybody. And they said, you're nuts. That's not going to happen. Then Prop 36 in California was to put them back to felonies, right? It won with 70% of the vote. 70% of the vote, right? In California. And that's my point to my friends on the max left. Like, you guys want to be maximalists, but that's not where Democratic voters are, let alone Republican voters. So I was never in favor of making them misdemeanors, but I was in favor of unlimited cash bail. Now that I've changed that, but you see, it's tiny. It's a tiny change based on what I saw, based on experience, based on these guys getting out and doing it again. But the main thing, Patrick, is before, when I battled the right wing, it was a wall, right? I'm just like, nobody's listening to one another. They're just doing talking points. I hated it. And then MAGA looked like they were 100%. I'll be honest. I mean, in 2020, I was super pissed. And I said, look, I don't want to talk to Trump supporters. All I hear is the same thing. Trump. And they never waver. So what I'm saying to the left now is, no, I'm seeing something new and different here. The MAGA base has changed. Okay. That doesn't mean they don't like Trump. It doesn't mean that they're not right wing, but there is a significant portion of the MAGA base now that is, in my opinion, right wing populists who are actually anti-establishment, actually anti-corruption, actually anti-war. And what I'm trying to tell the left is, take the win. Take the win. We've been standing a post here for 20 years, trying to cut the Pentagon, trying to be anti-war, getting money out of politics. If people say yes, for God's sake, that's our lost tribe. Those are our right-wing brother and sisters who are Americans, who are populists, who agree with us. Let's go fight the establishment together, because if we're united, they cannot stop us.
Are you at all in a place right now? You're registered what? Democrat?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you at all at a place where you've thought about being a registered independent or libertarian?
So the reason I became a Democrat is because in California, if you're an independent, you can't vote in Democratic primaries. And so I wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders, et cetera. So I became a Democrat, and I don't have any problem staying in the Democratic Party. I ran for president in the Democratic Party as a protest candidate against Biden, as you remember, right? Mm-hmm. But now we're in a situation where we've got realignment, where there's a left-right spectrum, then there's a populist establishment spectrum, right? So I am center-left, but I'm way populist. I'm 100% populist, right? So things are moving. If it turns out, and the parties have switched before, if the parties completely switch, then I don't have any allegiance to a party label or name, right? But right now, the Republicans are still right-wing, Democrats are still left-wing, so I'm going to stay there.
So why do you think the Democratic Party lost a Rogan, lost a Tulsi, lost a Bobby, lost a Musk, lost a Trump, all these guys were former Democrats. Why do you think, and let's set Trump aside, because maybe Trump's Democrat in the 80s and 90s. Let's kind of come to the names recently, like Musk, like Rogan, like Tulsi, like Bobby, these guys. Why do you think they're losing these names?
Yeah, so everything's a little bit different, and every person's different. So Tulsi, I think, was always secretly a right-winger, but Bobby Kennedy Jr. was not. He was definitely a Democrat, right? And so he's a decent example. So Bobby has opinions that a lot of people on the left don't agree with, right? To which I say something revolutionary to the left. So what? Okay.
I think we're going to be seeing more of this in the political arena and the general cultural podcast, social media arena, as far as it goes, as far as political commentators goes, and personalities who for many years have been staunch anti-Trumpists, you could say, and in the most simplest of terms, you could say, have gradually floated down to a more reasonable position and are coming to their senses. I'd say maybe Elon Musk and Joe Rogan more recently, the outlook they've had, and they've kind of led the way when it comes to this enlightening moment that some people have been experiencing in this particular arena. So I hope you found this informative or useful in some way. Let us know in the comments, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and as per usual, be good, be safe, be creative. You've been here with CornerSpeak, Owen Uadier. We out.